Raiders, this is Ezron. Welcome to My Bastion. I think everyone should probably be aware by now that the Raid 3rd anniversary events are underway. They started today, the 14th of April. And as part of that, we got the super cool and interesting Raid recap video. I'm going to go through mine here a little bit. I also saved my video from last year, so I think this gives us a great opportunity to look at a snapshot of the account at two different times and see how I've progressed over the past year. So I'm going to do a little bit of switching back and forth and breaking the video up, but hopefully you'll find it interesting. You'll see like how one can potentially advance your account by just playing hard and being diligent in using the resources that you get. So I already downloaded the video and I'm going to play it locally in Media Player. Just because I think it'll make stopping and starting and switching back and forth between this video and last year's a little bit easier. I'll be right back as I get everything ready. Now that I've got the setup in a way that I think makes sense, let's get started with the 2022 Raid recap.
Much has come to pass since your arrival. Gaze into the shard and see what mark you have left upon our world. Teleria has seen new challenges and new champions. But this is your legacy. Your forces have grown strong.
This is, I think, the first neat data point. I've now got 545 champions out of a possible 676. This was also a data point in the last video, so let me go pull that up and we'll do a quick comparison. So in last year's Raid 2021 video, there were 568 total champions, so just over 100 had been added, but I only had 391 of them. So my current state of having 545 out of 676 certainly has closed the gap a lot in terms of completeness in collecting champions and things I'm able to do now that I have a bigger selection of people to go from. Let's continue down the path. I think the next part is actually really, really interesting.
You used these champions the most.
And I will say that I think this surprised me a little bit. I use Warlord everywhere. That wasn't necessarily a big surprise. He gets play in sometimes arena, certainly tag team arena in most of my PvE dungeons. He was on Clan Boss team for a long time over the last year. Razin sort of the same way. Longbeard for me is, he's in my arena offense team, and he gets some billing in like a few Doom Tower dungeons or occasionally potion keeps just to speed things up. And then Suzerain Catone I used as my campaign farmer for a while. He gets a lot of PvP use and some PvE use when speed of clearing is important. But he's a bit squishy, so when things get hard, he gets subbed out for someone who's more sturdy or defensive based. And then Fellhound being my most used champion is not a surprise to me at all. He's my campaign farmer. I farm a lot with him. And, certainly with the last couple of fusions and all like that, there's been, a lot of champion training events. So, yeah, not a surprise at all. Now let's go check out last year and see how this changed. So here's my last year's most used champions. Warlord and Suzerain Catone still there. I used to use Fushan everywhere in lots of dungeon teams and all that. Now he is pretty much 3v3 arena for me and a little bit of like wave clearing in Doom Tower. Zargala has now really been relegated to Faction Wars. I have many other champions that are, as good or better than her as what she does and are a bit more survivable as well. And then moving that forward, Kyle was my campaign farmer for a long time now. I barely use him for anything. So again, no big surprises in any of this. Just it's nice to see the progression in terms of how my account has advanced over the past year. Now I'm going to flip back to the 2022 video and advance a little bit and see what's next.
Won glory in the dungeons.
This overall, I will say, is interesting. So 7,000 dragon runs, 6,000, 2,000.
And have claimed great riches.
So this is a new statistic that wasn't in the last about total artifacts. I will say I'm probably pleasantly surprised. About almost 10% of artifacts I have are legendary. I think that number will probably get a little bit bigger as you spend more time in level 24 or 25 dungeons, maybe closer to 10% or so. This was a neat inclusion around how many different shards have I gotten. So, 130 shards out of dungeon runs, that's, probably more than expected. It's just over halfway to a guaranteed legendary champion for Mercy System. So, overall, a nice bonus that you sometimes get out of doing dungeon runs rather than gear.
You have challenged all comers.
No surprises here in my most common arena team. I run a modified blender. Suzerain Catone is awesome in that because, Skull Crowns, Leorises, anyone in Swift Parry easily get taken care of by him. So, how it works is Arbiter goes, boosts into Longbeard, does the ally attack, then Skull Crown hits everyone twice, and Suzerain Catone either cleans up or uses his A3, which removes Unkillable and shields and a few other things just to make sure people die easily.
And earned great renown.
I do think this now inclusion of the Great Hall and where you are is really, really neat. I certainly have put a lot of effort in the past year into completing this. Next up, I think I'm going to finish probably defense for most affinities, and then go into attack for likely spirit and magic and a few people that I use in arena a little bit more, and then look to finish things out. I'm 2/3 of the way done. Now that arena is back to fixed and it's easy to farm medals, I think there'll be a lot of progress here. And this is really good CVC points, so a great place to increase your contribution to your clan CVC events.
You made your name in the arena.
And no surprises in getting to Gold 5. I got in there shortly after it came out and then dropped out of Gold 5 on purpose because farming Gold 4 was easier. Now that the arena is back to being easy and fixed, I think that's it's perfectly fine to farm in Gold 5. You get a little bit more materials when you do so.
This was your strongest arena defense.
This is, I think, a neat one and probably one I would put back in. This is all about being an annoying defense. You have someone who's fast, you have 2 revivers, you have Warlord to lock people out and fully with block revive. Good statistics on it. It seemed like it would be effective, and good. Glad to know that the data lake says it was as well.
You fought for honor in faction wars.
I think this is a neat statistic and wasn't in the last video. I got Lydia before the Shadowkin Faction Wars came out, so I never actually finished it. I'll go back and probably make an effort to do so just to clean that up and get the couple of extra, I think it's books or maybe shards at the end. But yeah, finish Faction Wars, never got motivated to do anything about Shadowkin.
You are an asset to your clan.
This, I think, is overall super cool about adding the clan stuff because it's a new feature, and glad to see that I help. And now clan gold is really, really important that you can get Yakarl and chaos ore and some books and shards from the clan shop. So we'll be spending a lot of this shortly. I've saved most of it because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, but I think you'll see a lot of changes there shortly.
You have dominated the Demon Lord.
I think this is a neat statistic that also was in the last video, so we're going to talk about shortly. This is about as I would have expected, maybe like 43 million. I recently retooled my unkillable team, so it's now easy 2-key. Let's go check and see how that changed, because I think it was in the last video. And here we go from last year's video. Let's see what it says. So overall, maybe I'm not that surprised. I did run a budget unkillable team for a long time where it was just on the verge of being a 2-key team. Like if you got 2 perfect runs in, it could 2-key. So this is probably reasonable. So, a new team gets you, a fair amount of advancement. Now I'm going to jump back over to the 2022 video and finish it up. And continue.
You ascended the Doom Tower.
Like, this is, I think, a neat statistic. It's true, I haven't finished Hard Doom Tower. Like most rotations, I get between floor 50 and 80. I think I probably have the chance to go a little bit further. I'm just not a big fan of the manual fights. But less than 10% of people completing normal Doom Tower is a bit of a surprise to me. I would have thought that was much higher, maybe like 25%.
You have achieved much, but your legend has just begun. Where shall it take you next?
So I think overall, like these, year-end raid videos are super cool. I like to see how they changed. A few other things I looked at. I published a video at this time last year. And I got a few other neat pieces of data out of that I'll talk about in just a second. So in my recording of last year's video, I started at my Bastion, and I was level 81. I think it's interesting that, in a year I went up 14 levels, maybe 14 and a half. Especially ever since level 60, additional levels don't get you a bigger energy cap. So there's not a whole lot you get from it. I just think it's interesting how long it takes to get there. I feel like I play a lot and I haven't, got to level 100. There are certainly people that have gotten there weeks or months ago. So just like seeing that level of progress is a nice data point. Then when it comes to champions, right now, if you look in my champion storage, I have a grand total of 62 6-star level 60 champions, and then 2 more that are 6-star but all the way not to level 60. So a grand total of 64 champions compared to last year's video, which showed a total of 34 champions, which that tells me I ascended a grand total of 30 champions over the last year to 6-star. No, I don't keep track how many of them started at 5 or how many of them were net new. I just think it's interesting. That's just under 1 champion a week I get to level 60. Interesting data point there. I might try to do that a little bit better going forward, see if I can get to 1 champion a week. Now that I've completed Faction Wars, there certainly isn't as much of a demand for specific champions or champions spread across other factions. I can do, pretty much whatever I like or I find is interesting or more likely would help with the Hydra boss. So I think I'm going to end the video here. It was interesting to see the year-end raid, the 3rd anniversary video, which I really think is, again, something great that Plarium doesn't have to do, but they did, as well as seeing, how your account changes over a year. I don't have any plans to leave raid. I assume we'll be here next year, and we'll do the video again to see how my account has continued to change and grow. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know, if you find these data points interesting or if you have any other things you want to ask, or maybe other data we can draw about how things have changed in the past year, or other things we can get out of the anniversary videos. So this is Ezron signing off.